Did anyone ever tell you that life after 80 might feel more like surviving than truly living? Most people don't say it out loud. They show you the brochures with smiling gray-haired couples on beaches, sipping tea in perfect gardens. But behind those soft focus images, there's a truth that rarely gets mentioned. Aging doesn't always arrive wrapped in peace, wisdom, and morning walks. Sometimes it comes with shaky legs and worries you never imagined you'd carry. You've come a long way. Decades of building, loving, losing, giving, enduring. You fought through wars, heartbreaks, market crashes, sleepless nights with sick children, and quiet tears in hospital waiting rooms. You made it. You survived. But no one prepares you for this part, where your reflection still looks familiar, but your body whispers reminders that time has passed. And that's the silent truth. Once you cross into your 80s, something changes. Not in a dramatic movie-like way, quietly, subtly. The same stairs you climbed last year now feel longer. Names don't come to your tongue as quickly. The world moves faster, louder, and somehow a little more distant. Your strength doesn't vanish overnight. It fades like fabric worn thin by the years. And suddenly, the simple things, buttoning a shirt, stepping out of a car, remembering if you took your pills, take effort. Real effort. But the hardest part? It's not the physical decline. It's the emotional shift no one prepares you for. The psychological toll of watching your life quietly shift from center stage to sidelines. You feel the distance when a neighbor doesn't wave anymore, when birthdays are marked by texts, not visits, when no one says your name unless you call first. But let me tell you this. This video isn't about fear. It's about truth. It's about pulling back the curtain on what aging really feels like, so you're not caught off guard, so you can prepare emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because being prepared doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful. And before we move forward, if you've ever felt any of this, if any part of your journey after 80 has felt confusing, lonely, or harder than expected, take a second now. Hit the like button. Not for me, but as a quiet signal that you're still here, still listening, still walking this road with dignity. Reality number 1, the disappearing circle of people. By the time you reach your 80s, something subtle begins to happen. The phone rings less, visits grow fewer, familiar routines disappear one by one. Not because you've changed, but because the people who made up your life are slowly fading from it. Friends you've known for decades pass away. Neighbors move to assisted living. Even family, though they still love you, become busy with their own lives. And before you even realize it, the circle around you isn't just smaller, it's quieter, emptier, more distant. It's not only about death, it's about absence, the kind that builds slowly. The lunch you used to share every Tuesday doesn't happen anymore. The voice that called every Sunday now lives only in memory. And the hardest part is, no one replaces them. People your age are thinning out. And while younger folks may still be kind, they rarely fill the same space in your heart. They don't know your history. They don't share the same time. This shift doesn't just affect your schedule, it touches your spirit. You might still be surrounded by people at times, but something inside feels invisible. You start to wonder if your story is still known, if your presence still matters, if anyone would notice if you didn't show up. But here's what matters. This change is real, and you're not imagining it. It's one of the hardest truths of aging. Yet within that truth, there's something powerful. Because even now, New connections are possible. They may not look like the friendships of your youth, but they can still bring meaning. Some older adults find comfort in joining book clubs, local groups, or simply greeting the same faces each week at the store. Others reconnect through small gestures, short conversations, shared smiles. The goal isn't to rebuild what's gone. It's to stay anchored in the present, to avoid drifting silently into isolation. If you've felt the ache of loneliness after 80, know you're not alone. You're not forgotten. Your life still matters. And someone, somewhere, still needs your presence, your voice, your experience, your steady wisdom. This chapter may be quieter, but it's no less valuable. You're still here, and that means your story is still unfolding. Reality number 2, the body's subtle rebellion. After 80, aging stops following a predictable path. Your body doesn't simply grow weaker in a straight line, it starts negotiating with you. One day, your knees feel steady, your appetite fine, your digestion smooth. The next day, everything shifts. Your legs ache without reason. Food you've eaten for 50 years now causes discomfort. Sleep, once automatic, becomes a restless struggle. And the hardest part isn't the change itself, it's the unpredictability. You never quite know what version of your body you're going to wake up with. It's not just fatigue, it's the slow realization that your body is making choices without you. It stiffens unexpectedly. It demands rest more often. It rebels in small ways, ways others can't see, but you feel constantly. And while those around you might say you look fine, they don't see the inner calculations you make just to get through the day. The way you avoid stairs, skip a meal, postpone a trip because you're not sure if your body will cooperate. That quiet uncertainty wears you down. You begin planning your life around your strongest hours, rationing your energy, adjusting your expectations, not because you've given up, but because the rules keep changing. You might have 3 good days in a row and start to feel like your old self, only to wake up the next morning feeling 10 years older. And that emotional whiplash, the hope rising and falling, is what leaves many feeling betrayed by the very body that carried them for decades. But here's the shift. Aging well doesn't come from resisting these changes. It comes from moving with them. It's not about fighting your body. It's about learning how to cooperate with it, gently, intentionally. Small routines help more than we admit. Drinking warm water in the morning, stretching before bed, stepping outside for 10 minutes of sunlight. These aren't cures. They're anchors, little reminders that you still have some influence over how your body feels each day. You're not weak for slowing down. You're wise for listening closely. Your body, though less predictable now, is still yours. And every time you choose to adapt instead of resist, you're practicing the quiet strength that defines this season of life. Not just surviving it, but honoring it. Reality number 3, the growing distance from family and friends. One of the hardest parts of aging isn't just losing people, it's watching the ones who remain slowly drift further away. Not out of malice, not because they've stopped loving you, but because life changes. Children become grandparents. Their time fills up with work, parenting, errands, and responsibilities you once carried for them. You start to notice the phone calls grow shorter, the visits less frequent, the holidays quieter. And though no one says it, the shift is there. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. You may tell yourself they're just busy, that next month will be different. But weeks turn into months, birthdays pass with a text instead of a hug, and suddenly you find yourself reminiscing more than connecting. You replay old conversations because new ones are rare. You hold on to voices in memory because they don't show up in your daily life anymore. It's not always about them forgetting. Sometimes it's you pulling back too. Maybe you don't drive at night anymore. Maybe loud places overwhelm you. Maybe getting ready for a gathering takes 3 times the energy it once did. So even when invitations come, you hesitate. You want to go, but you weigh the effort. And many times, quietly, you decline. Not because you don't care, but because it feels easier to stay home. But that choice, made over and over, creates distance. And the more invisible you begin to feel, the easier it becomes for others to overlook you. You fade quietly, not because you stopped mattering, but because connection now requires more effort from both sides, and not everyone sees that. There's a woman named Sandra, 84, who said the loneliest part of her day wasn't being alone. It was realizing no one expected her. No one was waiting for her call. No one noticed when she skipped a meeting at her community center. That kind of loneliness isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It just settles in, gently, like dust on a windowsill, until one day you realize you've been sitting in silence for far too long. But here's what's still within your control. Shrinking circles don't mean your value has shrunk. A smaller world can still hold deep connection. Sometimes it starts with one person. One letter written instead of waiting for a call. One yes to a neighbor's invitation. One conversation with someone younger who doesn't know your past but wants to hear it. Staying visible doesn't require a crowd. It requires courage. The kind of courage you've had all your life. The kind that says, I still have something to give. You don't fade when you choose to be seen. And no matter how quiet things become around you, your story still carries the power to light up someone else's life. Reality number 4, the burden of outliving the ones you love. There's a quiet kind of grief that settles in after 80. It's not a single moment of loss. It's a pattern, a rhythm. One goodbye, then another, then another. Friends who knew your childhood, siblings who shared your family stories, a spouse whose voice once filled your home. One by one they leave, and you stay, left with memories no one else carries, moments frozen in time that only you still remember. It's not just about missing them. It's about being the last one who still knows. You find yourself remembering jokes no one else gets. You see objects in your home that once had shared meaning, now holding their stories in silence. The dent in the garage door, the photograph in the hallway, the recipe card in their handwriting, everyone a reminder that they were here, and now they're not. And sometimes there's guilt. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you're still here when they're not. You replay old choices. You wonder if you could have done more, called more, loved better. And even though you know those thoughts aren't fair, they still linger, quietly pressing on your heart. There's also the loneliness that no one talks about. The kind that lives in the moments where you instinctively reach for a second coffee mug out of habit, or hear their voice in your head when you're alone. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's just always there. A soft echo that follows you through your day. But within that echo, there's also strength. Because being the one who remembers is a role no one else can fill. You carry the stories, the love, the lessons. And when you share them, through a photo, a conversation, a laugh, you keep those people alive in a way only you can. You become the bridge between what was and what still matters. Robert, 87, once said the hardest part of aging wasn't his knees or his eyesight. It was the mornings when he made 2 cups of coffee without thinking and realized he only needed one. But he still made both. One for him, one for the memory, And in that simple act, he honored what was lost, without letting it steal what remained. You may carry more grief than anyone knows, but you also carry more love, more memory, more history. That weight can feel heavy, but it also gives you roots, and those roots can still hold others up if you choose to share them. Reality number 5, the shrinking of personal freedom. After 80, something begins to shift, not in your body, but in how others see you. Even when your mind is sharp and your independence intact, the world starts to treat you differently. Decisions you used to make without question are now questioned by others. Your children begin insisting on driving you places, even when you know you're capable. They rearrange your schedule, remind you about your pills, offer advice you never asked for. And it's not that they mean harm, it's love, layered with worry. But sometimes that love starts to press in too tightly. Slowly, subtly, you stop being the one who decides. You start being the one who's guided, monitored, managed. And that's when the frustration creeps in. Not because you reject help, but because you still know who you are. You've earned the right to choose what matters. You've made 1,000 hard decisions across a lifetime, and now, suddenly, your judgment seems up for debate. It's not about pride, it's about dignity, about being seen as someone who still has agency, even if you move slower now, about being asked, not told. And when that space starts to disappear, you feel something even deeper than irritation. You feel small, like your preferences no longer matter, like your presence, your will, your rhythm have become negotiable. Joyce, 84, shared that her daughter began planning every part of her day, from when she should walk to what shows she should watch. She appreciated the care, but felt erased, not because she was incapable, but because no one stopped to ask if she was still capable. And that's the quiet battle so many older adults face, not against decline, but against assumption. You may still cook your meals, handle your bills, think clearly, and live fully, but people around you begin treating you like a child again. With good intentions, yes, but with a tone that forgets your history, your strength, your mind. But here's what matters now. Setting boundaries at this stage of life isn't selfish. It's self-respect. You can accept help without surrendering control. You can say, "Thank you, but let me decide this one." And those who love you, even if they're surprised, will learn. Because independence isn't just about doing things alone. It's about having a voice, and your voice still matters. The choices you make, what to wear, where to go, what to eat, who to see, aren't just logistics. They're expressions of identity. They're how you stay grounded in a world that moves fast and forgets to ask. And no matter how old you are, your identity deserves space. Reality number 6, the emotional cost of outliving others. As the years go by and the people you love begin to fade from your daily life, something changes inside you. Not just a sense of loss, but a strange, steady quietness that settles into your routines. You wake up and realize there's no one left to call about a memory from 40 years ago. No one who still laughs the same way you did at the jokes from your 20s. No one who understands the little things. The look you gave your spouse across the dinner table, the way your brother used to whistle when he was nervous, the song that once played at your wedding. This kind of loneliness is not loud. It doesn't knock on the door or announce its arrival. It just becomes part of your day, humming quietly in the background like an old radio you forgot to turn off. It lingers in the empty chair across from you, in the silence after you make dinner for one, in the way you stop telling certain stories because no one knows the people in them anymore. And it's heavy, not in the way grief used to be, Not the sharp, tearful kind, but the still kind, the slow kind, the kind that doesn't fade, just softens and stays with you. You carry it with you into conversations, into meals, into sleep. Charles, 87, said it simply. I've been to more funerals in the past 5 years than I can count, and every time, a little piece of my life disappears with them. That's a truth many carry. They just don't speak it often. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because it becomes a quiet part of life, a familiar weight. But here's what makes the difference. Staying emotionally alive doesn't mean forgetting the ones you've lost. It means continuing to show up for the world that's still here. Opening the door to new people, even when you know they'll never replace what was lost. Smiling at someone new, even when your heart is still heavy. Inviting someone over for coffee, even if they're 30 years younger and have no idea who you once were. Because staying connected isn't just something to do. It's how you keep your heart from closing. It's how you stay alive on the inside. Not by denying the sadness, but by walking with it. Letting it be there. Letting it accompany you, without letting it stop you. And in that choice, in that soft persistence to keep living fully, you honor not just yourself, but everyone you've loved and lost. Reality number 7, facing your own fragility with grace. There comes a moment, sometimes quiet, sometimes sharp, when you realize your body no longer responds the way it used to. Not just with strength or speed, but with certainty. Tasks that were once second nature, tying your shoes, stepping into a shower, rising from a low chair, now require thought, intention, sometimes assistance. It's not about feeling old every minute. It's about how small reminders begin to show up in your day. The slight unsteadiness when you stand, the hesitation before a walk alone, the awareness that your balance, your grip, your energy, all have changed. And that awareness doesn't just live in your muscles or bones. It lives in your confidence. You start to question things you never did before. Is it safe to travel? Can I lift this? Should I ask for help? And while those questions are wise, they can also make your world feel smaller. You begin shaping your life not around what you want to do, but around what you can safely manage. But fragility, when faced honestly, isn't weakness. It's wisdom, hard-earned and deeply human. It's your body telling the story of everything it has carried, every child it raised, every staircase it climbed, every hug it held tightly. And now, it's asking you to move differently, to live more slowly, more intentionally, more gently. Nancy, 84, once said something simple that stayed with me. I don't mind needing a cane. I earned it. It means I've walked a long, meaningful road, and I'm still walking. That mindset is the difference. Because aging gracefully doesn't mean pretending nothing has changed. It means recognizing what has changed and adjusting with dignity. Some try to hide their limitations, to prove they're still the same. But those who adapt, who accept support, who use tools, who move at their pace, they often stay independent longer. Because they're not at war with their bodies. They're in partnership with them. Strength after 80 isn't about pushing through pain or denying reality. It's about choosing what matters most. It's about preserving energy for what gives you joy. And it's about showing up, not perfectly, but fully present, with gratitude, awareness, and the quiet kind of courage that only time can teach. Getting older after 80 isn't just about physical change. It's about navigating emotional terrain no one prepared you for. It's about waking up with fewer names in your phone, more creaks in your joints, and a heart that carries both immense wisdom and quiet grief. It's not always gentle, it's not always fair, and it's certainly not talked about enough. But here's what matters now. Knowing these truths doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. It gives you clarity. It reminds you that you're not broken, not forgotten, not invisible. You are still here, still thinking, still feeling, still shaping the world around you in quiet, powerful ways. You are not a burden. You are not less valuable because you need more time, more help, more rest. Your presence, your voice, your memories, your laughter, your stubborn spirit still holds weight, still matters deeply. There are people who need your story. There are lessons only you can teach. And there's beauty in showing up as you are, not as you once were, but as the person time has shaped, with layers, with depth, with grace. So take care of your body, but honor your mind. Don't hide your sadness, but don't stop seeking joy. Let the silence come, but don't settle into it. Reach out. Say yes. Be generous, even when the world feels small. Walk slower if you need to, but walk with pride. Because you've earned every step, and you're still walking. If this video touched you, if even one part felt like your truth, take a moment now. Leave a comment below. Share what resonated. Tell us one lesson you've learned after 80 that the world needs to hear. Your voice matters here, and your words might be exactly what someone else needs today. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Not just for more content, but to be part of a space where your experience is seen, respected, and deeply valued. We're honored you spent this time with us, and we look forward to walking beside you, one story at a time.